All About Writing with Ben and Sara.
Oh, Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas. And it's not quite the new year. And we are here talking all about writing on Christmas. This is still the podcast that covers everything about the world of writing from the inside out. And this is episode 61, part 9 on our series on marketing. I am Sara here with my co-host Ben, who is an award-winning best-selling author and ghostwriter, editor, and publisher.
And I'm Ben, here with my co-host Sara, who is an award-winning, best-selling author, screenwriter, editor, and TED Talk presenter. And today, we're talking about marketing or genre, which means when you're marketing your book, who do you market it to? And what kind of book do you have? And if you get it wrong, then you might not be marketing very well. So that's what we're talking about. So where do you want to start? It's marketing.
Why did we choose marketing?
For Christmas. I know.
Merry Christmas. Let's talk about the thing we dislike the most.
All right.
No, but I want to talk a little bit. We teased this entire episode as is Die Hard a Christmas movie. I think that is where we should start.
Okay. Well, let me tell you about Die Hard. So Die Hard, for anyone who doesn't know, was an amazing action movie that came out in late 80s, early 90s. And the neat thing about what's relevant to us here is that it was a total action movie, but it was the first time that Bruce Willis had appeared in an action movie. And now, of course, nowadays we all think of Bruce Willis as an action star, but remember, back then, he was famous for being in the TV show Moonlighting. He was actually a romantic comedy star. It would be almost like if Hugh Grant were to suddenly be James Bond, right? It would be kind of silly. So when they first were doing the trailers for Die Hard, they show this cool action stuff, and then the audiences in the theater would see Bruce Willis, and they all started laughing because they thought, oh, it's that rom-com guy. What's he doing here with a gun? Whatever. And they actually had to change their posters, which originally had the Nakatomi Plaza with Bruce Willis's face. They changed the posters and took Bruce Willis's face out, and it was just Nakatomi, because they realized the marketing wasn't working, because this was an action movie, but everybody knew the star as rom-com. And so there was a dissonance between who they were trying to reach and what their star was saying for them. So like everyone who was a fan of Moonlighting, oh great, it's a hilarious rom-com, I'm going to go see this movie. And then they would have been appalled when they watched it. Well, they would have loved it because it's an amazing movie, but it would not have been what they were expecting. And all the people who love action movies, were expecting Schwarzenegger or Stallone, and they got Bruce Willis. So it's an example actually of when you are marketing, you have to make sure you understand the message that you're sending and the audience that you're intending to hit. So this is as true for books as it is for movies.
Well, it's the entertainment world, right? So like it's still marketing, and that has been a problem for books and movies for a while. I mean, actually, the As You Wish movie, Princess Bride, had the same problem. They didn't know how to market it. Is it a romance? Is it a comedy? Is it a swashbuckling, thing? Is it a fantasy? What are we watching? And so they never were able to really, that's where that movie flopped, because they didn't change the marketing and they didn't have a precise message to their audience. And even though it was lovely and people found it, and it's become a cult classic, that was another example of where the marketing did not get tweaked. And then the movie in the theaters suffered because of it. And I think that's how books can be too. In a way, sometimes you do feel like you have to throw spaghetti at the wall when you're marketing, because you don't know what's going to hit and what's going to get you the best ROI. But you also still want to be where your audience is. So I don't expect to find my giant audience for my 1800s Americana historical fiction on TikTok. I'm sure they're there, but there's less of them there. I'm expecting than like on Facebook, where an older generation who prefers that time period is living. And my messaging has to slide on it that way to do that. And so knowing who you're writing for, maybe it's not what you're thinking when you're writing the book, but it's definitely something you need to talk about. And agents ask that.
Yeah.
Who would read this book?
Yeah,
Who
and that,
audience?
having been on the other side, in the publishing side, that's a question we often ask the authors, and a lot of authors have trouble answering that question because their answer is, "Oh, well, everyone could enjoy this book. This book is good for everyone." Like, well, I believe you, and I appreciate your faith in your book, but that doesn't help me at all with the marketing. So it can be hard for an author to pigeonhole themselves. And as a creative, like you said, Sarah, I don't want you to pigeonhole yourself. But when you get to the marketing, you do have to basically pick a side and say, okay, uh, who is my target? Who is going to love this book? Not just, I know everyone will love it, but who really is looking for this book? That's what you need to try and figure out. And there's a bunch of ways you can do it. Like, you can try and build your ideal client. We did this in business all the time. Like, my ideal client is a married woman between age 35 and 45 with children who lives in the Midwest. That's my ideal client. Yes, of course, I hope everybody loves it, but that is really who I'm aiming for, is this. Okay, now we can build a marketing plan around that.
Right. Yes. And um uh just like in the film world, in the book world, having some comps to help you figure out. So it's kind of like when you go on Amazon, right? And you're looking at a book to buy. And then like if you keep scrolling down, there'll be like other people who bought this book also bought.
Hmm.
And it's those suggestions, those are comps, those are comparable titles. And so if you have ideas, and really, you don't pick the most famous books maybe in your genre. Really dial in on, like it'd be like me saying, well, Gone with the Wind, because it takes place in the 1860s, which my books start in the 1860s. Well, Southern war, Civil War fiction is very different than Dakota Territories historical fiction. It's a different world. It's not a comparable comp. It's not an appropriate comp. And so something that is very, very dialed in to similar titles is really helpful for you, because it'll help you do really targeted marketing. Then you can see what are their tags, what are they using when they're trying to describe their book, and where are they promoting it? Are they using Instagram influencers, or are they on TikTok, or are they just kind of pushing it on a traditional media track? Where are they getting that traction, and how is it doing? So that can be it can be a guiding light for us too.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. And like you said, Sarah, it's, where is my audience? Does my audience live on Facebook, or does my audience live on TikTok? And it's good to be honest about who is your audience and where are they, because you want to go to them. Now, if you do enough marketing and you just sheer brute force and money and throw it at it, yes, you can probably reach everybody, but that's not very efficient. You're going to waste a lot of time and a lot of money. But if you can be more clever about it and say, okay, this is exactly who I'm trying to reach. And social media is the primary way that you can do it these days. Online ads are another. Definitely reaching people online gives you that freedom to reach a wider audience. But if there's any way that you can reach people not online, go for it as well. Are there clubs or interest groups or conferences where your audience is going to hang out? If you're writing nonfiction in particular, that can be very valuable to you. If there's an interest group, like someone who's interested in birds, and your book is about birds, well, go to the bird groups, like find them where they are. Um, and the first step in all of this is just figuring out, what is your book about and who is it for? And it can be hard for an author to do that.
Well, and then you end up with, the ongoing debate on, is your book fantasy or sci-fi? Is it women's fiction or historical fiction? I mean, what is it? And where do you want to, even if it can fit in a couple different slots, where do you
Hmm.
want to put your efforts,
Yeah.
right? Like
Yeah.
that's that's just the reality of having, I mean, if it's not a pure one or another, you're going to have to decide where you think you're going to get the most traction under those titles. I mean, women's fiction is a much bigger and broader genre than historical fiction for me, but I'm going to actually be able to have better ROI reaching historical fiction, doing those marketing tools towards historical fiction readers, because it's a little more specific, and I'm going to get people who are truly looking for something historical, as opposed to like, oh, it's about women. Oh, but it's historical. I don't really know. I just wanted it about women. Like, it's just so the more specific you can be, if you're not in a very clear delineated genre, the better it is.
Yeah, and you can certainly try a couple of things. Like, for example, my latest series, Swashbuckling Space Pirates, there's a heavy romantic element to it. And so originally the books were marketed as science fiction. And that caused a few problems because the publisher didn't realize that science fiction and space fantasy are actually slightly different things. And my books really are space fantasy. Like we don't worry about the laws of physics, you know, like whatever. Just we're just having a good time and it happens to be in space. And there's a huge audience for that. I mean, Star Wars is the perfect example of space fantasy, but my publisher actually didn't understand that. And so at first the book didn't do too well because there were a lot of people who love hard sci-fi, which is like exactly according to the laws of physics, who were panning the books for being stupid. And so we had to try again, and we had to basically relaunch the books with a different cover and do a different marketing. And then we found the audience. And these are the people who were looking for the book, not those people, these people. And the second time through, publisher got it right, and off we went. And now that the fourth book is coming, I've realized, you know, romance is a huge market. And romance is very carefully segmented into submarkets. And there is actually a space fantasy romance uh, subgenre. And so I thought, well, son of a gun. I never actually thought of these books as romance. But if there is a market, there are people looking for this in romance, maybe we should try it and see, you know. Doesn't mean I'm not going to still be, you know, pitching this book at my space fantasy fans, but maybe romance is something else. So it might work, it might not. We don't know. But I guess what I'm saying is you can recognize that your book can appeal to different audiences, but when you market it, you have to pick one and market towards that audience. And then you could try separately marketing towards another audience and see what sticks. Like you said, throwing spaghetti at the wall.
So then then you have to wonder, with Die Hard, um, you know, is it a action thriller or is it a Christmas movie, Ben?
Well, let's break that down. Is it an action movie? I think we can safely say yes. But is it a Christmas movie? And this is the more important question. Let's be honest. This is one of the questions of our time. Is Die Hard a Christmas movie? So, lots of people have tried to answer this question. Lots of theories have been posed. And I say it's all bunk because this is the truth about Die Hard and whether it is a Christmas movie. The thing that defines a Christmas movie is not the trappings around it. Yes, Die Hard has Christmas music, it has Christmas decorations, it takes place at Christmas. That's all true. But that's just the trappings. That's the decorations. What's the core of it? And so what I would say, what is the core of what makes a Christmas movie is Christmas a critical part of this story? Like, can this movie happen at Christmas only, or could it happen at any time? Let me give you a counterexample for a moment, if I may. Another famous movie that we all watch at Christmas is It's a Wonderful Life, right? That
Mhm.
movie, everybody plays it at Christmas time, and it is based at Christmas. But if you actually look at the movie and look at the story, it's a story of a man who's having financial troubles and considers suicide and sees what his life would be like if he never existed, and then has a change of heart and happily ever after at Christmas. The story itself could happen at any time. It could have happened on, the July 4th long weekend. It could have happened at Labor Day. It could have happened at some time in February. The story of his personal journey of just realizing the value that he has to all the people in his community has nothing to do with Christmas. It just so happens that the writers set the movie at Christmas. So I would put forward that It's a Wonderful Life is not a Christmas movie. It's just a movie that takes place at Christmas. But let's look at Die Hard. What are the basics of Die Hard? You've got a man who has flown across the country to see his family. Okay, there's a couple of reasons why you might do that, but Christmas is one of them. He's going to this office building where they're having a party at the end of the day. It's conceivable that a company might have a party at the end of the day, but not very many. But Christmas is one of them. Why is there nobody else in the building? Because they've all gone home because it's Christmas Eve. And why are the police so lackadaisical about responding when John McClane raises the alarm? Because it's Christmas Eve and they all want to go home. Now, cops being lackadaisical could happen anytime. Everybody going home early could happen anytime. There being a party in the office could happen anytime. A guy flying across the country to see his family could happen anytime. But all four of them together on one day? No, it can only be Christmas Eve. It wouldn't happen at Thanksgiving. It wouldn't happen any other time. It only happens at Christmas. And for that reason, Die Hard is a Christmas movie.
You're saying the confluence of all of these things that could happen at any time, the odds are so slight that it's anything else. So therefore it is a Christmas movie. I feel like you were, when you started giving the example of It's a Wonderful Life, I was like, I feel like he's going to make the argument. I swear he said that he thought Die Hard's a Christmas movie, but I'm going, I don't know. Is it? Like, but you've given this a lot of thought. A plus. I was going to say, to me, it's a Christmas movie because the Christmas is all around, and because, they're flying across the country to see his family for Christmas, kind of like is the whole point why he's there, right? Is to see his family for Christmas. And it, doing it just because, especially for his character, didn't make sense. He wouldn't have just done it because, like, he's doing it because it's Christmas and he wants to see his wife and kids. And that feeds the character of John McClane. Yeah, I love Die Hard because I have always been hopelessly in love with Alan Rickman. And so for me, this was really fun to just watch and drool. And then watching it with my kids for the first time, actually this year. I was just waiting to see who would like figure it out, because I'm like, oh my God, there he is. But they don't know him as anything other than Professor Snape in Harry Potter. And it took like my oldest, he was like, oh, it's Snape. And I was like, cool. And my daughter walked in later and she's like, why does his voice sound so familiar? I'm like,
yeah, indeed.
Anyway, so I have my husband and I had way too much fun, like just watching our kids enjoy this movie for the first time. But and we had to kind of sell it to our kids too, because we were like, it's a Christmas movie, and they're like, not another one. And we're like, no. After the first like 12 minutes, it's nonstop fighting, like just shooting nonstop. And they were like, really? And we're like, yeah. So then they were all like,
Yeah. Oh, yeah. There's kids on Christmas Eve in Die Hard, who want their parents to come home. I mean, there's so many Christmas tropes in there, which
yeah.
is great. But fundamentally, that movie could not happen any other day of the year except Christmas Eve for those four things that could only come together in a confluence together.
Yeah. Yeah. No, you're right. I'll give it to you. I wasn't going to argue with you, but I really love your rationale, because that's well done. No, but I mean, they didn't market it as a Christmas movie though, did they?
No, they marketed it as an action movie, which again is, as we discussed earlier, they had problems because their
Right.
star was not an action star. So I don't know how well it would have worked if they had marketed it as a Christmas movie, honestly.
Did it come out
But
at Christmas?
it did. Yeah.
Okay. All right.
Yeah. Yeah, I didn't see it in theaters. I saw it a few months later. Somebody had a VHS of it. And I remember thinking, oh boy, here we go, another action movie. Well, this is gonna suck. But whatever, I'm here, I'll watch it. But holy crap, was it ever a good movie? I
Yeah.
just like mind-blowingly good. I mean,
Yeah,
no doubt because of Alan Rickman. And that was his first film role, by the way,
I
was
know.
Die Hard.
I
Hmm.
know.
And Bruce Willis redefined himself as an action star, and we've never
Yeah.
looked back. So,
No,
you know,
no.
groundbreaking and
It
perhaps
is.
the best Christmas movie of all time.
No, I do need to segue slightly into this. This is an ongoing debate in our house.
Hmm.
Which one's better, Die Hard 1 or Die Hard 3?
Three? Is this a joke? Really? Why three? Why would three be there and not two?
We think 3 is the stronger of the sequels. And I would even argue it potentially could be as strong as the first, if not a
This,
little before.
this is the one in New York, right?
Mhm. This is
Huh.
the one where Jeremy Irons is the
Yeah.
brother of Hans Gruber,
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
and the bait and switches are really well done. Like it's one of those movies where you do have to watch it a few times to catch the baits and switches that happen a few times in. And there's just the whole thing with Samuel L. Jackson and all of, they're running around. It's just there's a lot more intrigue. So it's a little bit it's still an action movie for sure, but it's got more
Hmm.
intrigue in it.
How interesting. Well, I mean, to be fair, I've only ever seen it once,
Oh,
and
oh.
you know, I'm literary enough to recognize the genius of Die Hard. Perhaps I'm not intelligent enough to recognize the genius of Die Hard 3. I'll have to go back and check it out.
You should. You
What?
should watch that. We actually did this with the kids. We watched the first and the third one back to back.
Uh-huh.
Uh, just because to us the second one is less interesting. I don't know why. Um, but I think the third is arguably as good as the first, if not better.
How interesting. Well, I've learned something today, and I have some homework over the holidays just to go and watch Die Hard 3.
Yeah.
Cool.
Which is
Awesome.
not a Christmas movie.
No. Yeah. I think we'll all agree on that. Definitely not.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Uh, but yeah,
Okay.
that's all I got. It's Christmas. We
Yeah,
we have our wine. It's Merry Christmas. Here's to a very hopefully very successful 2026 for all
for all.
in our writing
Absolutely.
career. So, all right. Cool. Well, then I guess that is our show for today. Like we said, Merry Christmas, everybody. Don't forget to subscribe so you don't miss any of our chats in the new year. Please don't forget to leave a review as well, which helps us a ton. Um, if you need a touch of Ben over the holidays, you can find him at bennettrcoles.com as well as Facebook and Instagram.
And if you want to gently stalk Sarah, you can do so at sarahdahlman.com and on Instagram. So thanks for joining us today. Please reach out if there are any topics you'd like us to cover, and we'll see you again when we next chat all about writing.
This has been All About Writing with Ben and Sara.